Now, one of the people that you have worked with, Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, we got on and she was like, yeah, let's give it a go. Yeah, that's how let's give it a go, fam. And I was like, yeah, let's try it. And we got on and I would um make arrangements of her music that she thought was like completely unexpected in terms of what she thought it was going to be, but she loved them because it was off the beaten path kind of thing. And I think that was what connected us. She loved that I was trying to think outside the box somehow. I wasn't like into music as a kid. I didn't have a music collection. Mid-teens that I kind of started to check out like hip hop and a few other things. The guitar, I mean, it wasn't an obvious choice. I didn't go, oh, guitar, I'm going to learn to play guitar. There were these other young guys in the choir. And one day, one of them said to me, I can show you a few chords on the guitar if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And somehow I just kind of took to it. I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm going to play guitar. I love community, and theater is something that requires community in order for it to work and be at its best. I realized that more so than being a musician, I think I'm a storyteller who enjoys telling stories. Although I was once just doing it only with the notes and a few words here and there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tamp Podcast. Today, we are joined by accomplished Nigerian-born, UK-based guitarist, composer, producer, musical director, educator, and more. Femi Temowo, welcome to the Tamp Podcast.
Woo! Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. Since the inception of this, you're one of the people I had on my list to get in, and I'm glad Natalia sorted me out with your details to get in
Natalia,
touch.
the ultimate connector.
She is, isn't she?
Ultimate connector.
She is. At one point, she was trying to. Are you into Brazilian cinema at all?
I wouldn't say. And not that I'm not into it, but I just don't know enough about it.
There's quite a big Brazilian actor who was in UK filming for a bit,
Mm,
and I was like, I wonder if Natalia's got a way in with him.
yeah.
So I send her a message to say, Natalia, do you happen to have any links to Wagner and Moura?
She's like,
She's like, yeah, he's a friend of a friend.
always.
And I'm like,
Wow.
she's just like,
Yeah. Socialite extraordinaire.
absolutely. Hi, Natalia.
Yeah, right.
And Piers. And the kids.
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell me about your childhood and early years in Nigeria and before the UK?
Whoa. That's one I don't get asked. I mean, yeah, I grew up in Nigeria, in Lagos, the capital city. I lived mostly with my grandmother growing up. She was a businesswoman who kind of bought and sold things. She was like, I have very vague memories about traveling with her as a young kid when she would travel either to Ghana or Ivory Coast to go buy stuff that she would then sell in her shop in Lagos. And she owned this big house in which there were several apartments and other families lived there also. So I grew up in like a community, which was, really, really cool. Cool now. At the time, you don't really understand the value of it. But yeah, the first kind of 9 years of my life, I moved to the UK when I was 10, probably preempting one of your questions. But those first kind of 9.5 years were spent mostly there in that environment. And I think as a young child, when you live in that kind of community with adults and kids and family, I think you grow up fast, but not in a negative way, because I feel like you understand your place in a larger kind of sense in the world, in the community.
You're part of something bigger than you.
Exactly. And that's, as I'm saying it now, is the first time I'm kind of realizing that that's something I think that's always helped me, like having that experience growing up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Then you came to the UK. Was that with your family? You came, everyone
Yeah.
moved over?
Well, I moved over with my dad. If being factual, my dad's family at the time, his second wife at that time, who I refer to as mom now, she had moved over with she had a kid already by that time with my dad, my first brother, and they had already moved over to the UK. And then myself and my dad joined later. That was quite a common story for immigrant families. Probably still is now. I'm not sure, but where half the family or someone would go ahead to kind of prep
Yeah.
things, have somewhere to live, have a job, make a bit of money, and then the others would kind of follow a few years later. And that's kind of how it was.
Now, I'm curious, in your childhood, was music did music play a role? Was it always present? Was it an influence?
Really, truly, no. I didn't even really, I wasn't one of those kids that had a music collection. My dad liked music. He was like a huge fan of Fela Kuti.
Huh, so am I.
I am also now. I wasn't always. This is the crazy thing. This is something that a lot of people don't know about me because I never say it, but they know now. I was. I remember growing up with my dad playing Fela Kuti records all the time, and he loved Fela Kuti. I mean, I know that in his younger years, he would go to the shrine in Lagos with his friends, and um, but I wasn't like into music as a kid. I didn't have a music collection. Um, it wasn't until like kind of mid-teens that I kind of started to check out like hip hop and a few other things. But growing up, no, I didn't really have an obvious uh adjacent relationship with music at all. No.
I'm thinking what kind of music was playing on the radio in the background, even on car journeys or what have you.
I mean,
What I'm trying to figure out were the influences, early influences, Nigerian? Were they
mostly
African, or were
like,
they? Did you have UK and US
nah, it was
influences?
100% Nigerian, African, generally either Nigerian or other West African sounds like Ghanaian, Ivorian. Also, Congolese music was huge when I was growing up in Nigeria, like, soukous and all that, those styles were like massive. So it was mostly that stuff that I would have heard
Because
growing up.
that's what would have primed your ear,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those
100%.
rhythms and those were the what kind of the foundations, should we
Exactly.
say?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, what drew you to the guitar?
Good question. The guitar, I mean, it wasn't an obvious choice. I didn't go, oh, guitar, I'm gonna learn to play guitar. I was as a teenager, I had my fair share of wayward behavior, and West African mom was like, No, this ain't happening. You're coming to church, you're joining the church choir, because there you'll be safe. I can see you, you know, blah, blah, blah." And that's what it was. And I did that for a while. And then there were these other young guys in the choir. And one day, one of them said to me, and I was kind of playing around with like percussion and blah, 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 trying to be part of it, trying to contribute something. And he was like, "I can show you a few chords on the guitar if you're interested." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And somehow I just kind of took to it. Like, it was really, yeah, it was bizarre for me because it wasn't something I ever really thought I would be into, but I really took to it and I learned quite quickly. And so I was like, "Yeah, let's go. I'm gonna play guitar."
That's what I was going to say. Because from the little research that I've done, you were a late starter with
Yeah, quite
guitar,
late
weren't you? So
start.
you
Yeah,
had quite a lot of catching up to do.
yeah, yeah. But I think I often say to people, I don't think my talent is per se like music per se. I think it's kind of understanding how things work. That sounds really like big headed somehow when I say it out loud,
No, I
but
don't think
I
so.
feel like I had a good sense of how it worked, and but that coupled with a curiosity, like a burning desire to learn and understand more. I think I just then channeled that into learning the guitar. Because guitar, like whenever you meet people who are like multi instrumentalists, guitar is often the one that they're kind of like, that's the one I don't understand, you know? Um, for me, it's like saxophone. I don't get the saxophone. I don't understand how that works. But guitar for me was really natural, you know? And I was really curious about why it worked and how it worked. And I think if I'm kind of honest with myself, I think that's kind of where my talent is. I just happen to apply it to that, and that breeds music. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the guitar is different to a lot of instruments, especially if you compare it to the sax, because the guitar can be what you want it to be. You can use it just to play a basic chord structure and just be a rhythm instrument,
Yeah,
or it can be a lead instrument
absolutely.
to improvise on. So
Yeah.
it depends what path you take. Some people take one, some people take the other, some do a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you're definitely one of the both categories.
Still trying it, still giving it my best.
Do you remember your first paid gig?
First paid gig. It's good. These are good questions. I don't have a ready answer because these aren't questions you get asked a lot. First paid gig, I would think. Wait, let me think about this. So, I remember going to. Okay, so I went to study when I decided I wanted to do music, and obviously being a child from a West African family, education. It's a big deal. Like always like knocked around the head with that. So it was like you can't just quit everything and just play music. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try and like, catch, you know, two birds, one stone. And I thought, well, if I could find a way to go study music, then I'm still going to university. I'm still gonna I didn't even know you could do that. There was another young person at the church that I grew up in where I was learning to play, who was studying A-level music. And I remember one day she showed up in church and she gave me a prospectus for Leeds College of Music because she had spoke to her music A-level teacher and said, I have this friend, he really wants to study music, but he doesn't know how. And this teacher just gave her the prospectus for Leeds College of Music. And I looked at it, and on the front cover, there was a young black kid who played trumpet. And I was like, I could do this. This is me. And I remember applying and getting in for the audition and blah, 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 having to work really hard actually to get audition pieces ready and all that kind of stuff. But that, I guess I'm trying to remember where this has come from. I lost the thread a little bit, but yeah, knowing that I could do that kind of made me work, more. I forgot the yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I got to Leeds, and I hadn't done any paid gigs, I think, by the time I got there, because I'd done a few. No, that's not true. It wasn't in Leeds. It was in London. It was at a place called the Paradise Bar, which sounds well dodgy.
Where's that?
In New Cross.
New Cross.
That's where it was. So they used to have a jam session every Wednesday night, and I would turn up. And there was this saxophone player called Colin who was running it at the time. And he was a really lovely guy. He would let everyone and anyone play. It didn't matter if you were, the best player around or if you're just starting out. And I was just starting out, and I would get up and play and jam, and it would be cool. And there were like a lot of regulars who would show up there. And then I remember one day Colin saying to me, do you want to be in the house band next week for the jam session? Yeah, you get paid. And I was like, wait, what? I get paid? Yeah, it was like 40 quid. But back then it was like, what? I'm going to go play guitar and you're going to hand me cash in an envelope. Let's go.
That's
my first paid gig.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
feeling.
I went on a roundup, but that feeling was good.
The feel of the first time you can earn money doing something that you love.
Absolutely. Yes. I had to go on the journey to find where, because it's been a while, obviously, since that time.
We got time. And at what point did you find yourself thinking, actually, I could do this for a living?
You know what? Quite a lot earlier on than maybe if I had been not so kind of head in the clouds dreamer, I might have talked myself out of it. But quite early on, like after about 2 or 3 years playing guitar, I was like, I think I could be good at this. I think I could get good at this. And I like the feeling of doing it. And I like the feeling of people feeling good when they hear you play something. And I was like, I want to do that, and I think it's based on a feeling. It was never based on, oh, I think I could become super rich or popular or famous. I mean, that kind of, some of that stuff, some of those ideas came later, you know what I mean? But initially it was, first of all, having played in church, it was having that good feeling of being in service of something, of a community. Again, it comes back to that.
It's that two-way dynamic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Feeding back off what you're giving.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes back to that love of community every time, I realize, you know?
Now, you've done many collaborations. How did you land your first collaboration?
When you say collaboration, because obviously there are gigs where that don't always feel like collaborations. You just feel like you're a hired gun. You come in, you do your part, and you go home.
That's what I mean. So a collaboration would be where your name runs alongside
Right.
the artist
Yes.
that you're working with.
Actually, again, quite early on, I remember meeting, someone introduced me to a singer called Alison David, who, did you ever hear of a band called Red Snapper? No.
Can't say.
They were kind of like to be honest, I'm not that familiar with their music, so I don't even want to try it, like ruin the explanation, but they were kind of like electronica, but not dancey, you know, it was very musical,
Instrumental.
sounds. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But they had a lead singer, this woman, Alison David. And I was at music college when somehow she was looking for a guitar player. And someone had mentioned me to her. She got in touch somehow. I can't remember how, because there was no even like
There was no
there
WhatsApp,
was no MySpace.
there was no Instagram, there was no...
None of that. She must have just had a mobile number for me, must have called or texted, and we met up. She used to live, when I met her, she was living White City. I remember it clearly. And I remember I left uni to go meet her, and we had an hour jam at her place. And then she was like, I love the way you play. It was like my first kind of gig out on my own in the world. But she was like, look, I want it to be a collaboration, exactly this. So we wrote a song together that first meeting, that first time we met. We wrote a song together, and it was recorded. We recorded it in a studio in Highbury, and we made a video of it. You know, we were both in the video, and that was my first collaboration. And it you know, and again, it felt better than, I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved turning up for gigs and just playing for people, but
you're
there
not
was
a session
something
musician.
about, yeah, well, exactly. And
You're like a hired gun.
I never felt like that's all I was, or that's all I could be. So it was nice that someone wanted to be like shoulder to shoulder in the music.
And that's something which I think can be quite difficult for some musicians, because I think once you fall into the session musician category, sometimes you get stuck in it, don't you? There are a lot of working musicians out here
That's right.
who get stuck in that and can't break free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a tricky one, because some people genuinely love that. They want to do that. They you know, it's not even just a case of they're just happy to do that. That's where they shine. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of people for whom maybe there is more, and they can't access it because, you know, our industry can be very much, you can get pigeonholed quite easily. Oh, you're the person who does this thing, and that's the person who does that thing. And it comes from the very mainstream all the way, and it can sometimes filter all the way through, because it's like, you know, when you think of the business side of things, you need to label things in order to be able to sell them.
You have to have a brand.
Exactly. And so you get branded as, this is what your brand is, and you can't move from there, you know? So sometimes for a lot of people, being branded as a session musician isn't a positive thing, even though it can be a beautiful existence, you know?
And it's also a complement of a skill level, because to be a session musician,
exactly,
you have to be a very competent musician.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, one of the people that you have worked with, Amy Winehouse, which curiously, remember I sent you the text earlier saying, we just had a recording earlier on, just before you, with Annabelle Williams.
Oh, wow. Blast from the
And
past.
I mentioned her name to you. I said, "Oh, you never guess it." She said, "Oh, what was her name?" I said, "Well, guess what? I've got Femi." She goes, "No way, Femi." She told us that
So
you would. Were
crazy.
you both teaching at music college
Yes, we
together?
taught the one that I was talking about. I was teaching in acting for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both taught there for a few years.
So what a small world, huh?
Tiny, crazy.
She said, "Ask him about the cake shop in Acton."
I wonder if that shop's still there. It was this guy. He used to serve the most almighty slices of cake. Like literally, none of us could finish one portion at any one lunchtime. You had to like save it to the next day.
But this is sweet cake,
But
right?
so good, yeah. Really good cakes, but massive, massive portions. I wonder if he's still there. He probably went out of business, like just like giving it away. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, but really, really cool. Really cool.
Can you tell me about your time working with Amy, how that came about and the challenges and the lessons and the positives?
Mm. How it came about? Yeah, I was. We were talking about being session musician and that versus everything else. I was part of a session agency for a while called Tough Sessions, run by a guy called Lawrence Johnson, who is a vocalist and a vocal arranger and all of those things. He was part of a band called New Colors in the, I think somewhere in the early 2000s, late 90s. And he founded this session agency, which was great because actually it brought together a community of people, mostly from kind of most I guess a lot of the musicians, if I think about, were from like more like black and brown communities. There was a lot of other musicians there too, like white musicians and blah blah blah. But I think the majority of it, and there was a certain community, and a lot of those musicians also came from that kind of gospel background,
Yeah.
which for I guess obvious reasons churned out some of the best session players because they could really play music. Like also they would play by ear, and the feel was also always great.
The gospel background for me,
Mm,
when musicians come through that,
yeah,
they tend to be able to portray emotion in a way that other people can't.
because week in week out,
And
that's
you
what you're
look at,
doing.
if I'm not wrong, I think people like Ben Harper came from a gospel background.
Hmm.
You listen to the Blind Boys of Alabama,
Yeah,
all this stuff,
sure.
and
Yeah,
it's so deep.
yeah. Because that's all you're dealing in. You only deal in what what's here, where the feeling is. You're not dealing in entertainment per se from very early on. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it is entertainment also. Like a lot of it is entertaining. And I don't think anyone would deny that. But there is a certain connection that you have to something more than yourself. And I think that's, if you have that from the moment you start playing, you're already connected to that. And there's almost no reason to learn music in any other way when you've got to have that background. But this agency had a lot of people in it from that background, and I was part of that agency. And one day I remember he called and he said, "Oh, look, there's this singer, her name's Amy, and her management have reached out to me. They're looking for like a music director. They want someone who has like a kind of a jazz background as well as a few other things, um, who plays guitar. And I thought of you, would you want to meet with her?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's." So we met at a pub in
Which pub?
Camden Town. I
Not the
can't
Good
remember.
Mixer,
I can't remember the
because I
pub.
met her in a pub
Oh,
called the Good
really?
Mixer in Camden. I
I
used
can't remember
to.
the pub. Honestly, I wish I remember the name of the pub, but it's just one of those things.
She used to hang out at the Hawley Arms
Yeah.
and the Good Mixer.
I don't
Those are
even
the
know
two.
where those places are because I wasn't from Camden.
Yeah.
I grew up in South London. So to get get the train across is like, to me, Camden back then, Camden felt far away. Had I started playing gigs at the Jazz Cafe by then? Yeah, no, I had, but still, Camden was far. Like you had to travel.
Yeah.
It felt like obviously it isn't really that far. So we spoke for like an hour and realized we had a lot of mutuals on the jazz scene. I realized that we'd probably crossed paths on the scene because she used to sometimes go to the Tomorrow's Warriors jam sessions at the Jazz Cafe, a few other places. And we got on really well. She knew of me already, funny enough, when we had met. She was like, "Yeah, of course I know who you are." She mentioned a few of my friends that I played music with. For instance, Soweto Kinch, she was a huge fan of. Um, and yeah, we got on and she was like, "Yeah, let's give it a go." Yeah, let's give it a go, fam. And I was like, yeah, let's try it. And we got on, and I would um make arrangements of her music that she thought was like completely unexpected in terms of what she thought it was going to be, but she loved them because it was off the beaten path kind of thing. And I think that was what connected us. She loved that I was trying to think outside the box somehow.
And because you work with lots of different styles of music, I mean, is there a genre you feel more comfortable in, or do you feel comfort in not having a genre?
Mhm.
Um, where do you sit in that?
Yeah. See, for me, I would rather not have a genre,
Yeah.
but it's that whole branding thing. You have to. I remember once Marcus Miller saying, he could have chosen to do a range of different things throughout his career. Um, but he kind of went down that kind of funk fusion jazz route because he needed to brand it himself. And he said in his opinion, it's important. And I respect it greatly. I understand the value of it. I think most people who have done the best have gone down that route. But there are some outliers. Do you know what I mean? But I think for me, I would rather not have a genre. I'd rather just be able to do whatever I wanted to do. But even now, I don't feel like that's necessarily possible. Like I couldn't just release like uh, I don't know, like a collection of like R&B songs as a guitar player featuring a bunch of singers, when for the last 3 records I've made music that were kind of like African influenced. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you can, but is it smart
I
too?
just had a crazy idea.
Oh,
How about having like a ghost artist profile?
trust me, I've done the thinking on
Yeah.
this, and it's something that
People do it,
will
man.
still happen. Oh yeah, all the time. It's
Yeah.
like it's just like having ghostwriters, right?
Yeah.
Who write novels, but under what they call it, pen names,
Yeah.
right? I've done the thinking on it, but the thing is, it still takes the same amount of time to make the work. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. So you have to say to yourself, okay, well, what am I going to channel my energy? What do I really want to say? As much as I would love to say all these other things, what do I want to say? And I've kind of and I also growing up, there wasn't a lot of it wasn't that cool. It wasn't as cool as it is now to be from West Africa, to be from Nigeria. And so for me, growing up, once I started making music and writing music, I wanted to show off the beautiful parts of my culture as much as I could with the language and the music. And so I chose to kind of pour my energy there. But still, there's still a lot of jazz there, still have other things there. But that's why I chose to kind of, at least the music I make as Femi Temowo, the artist, always has that element. Might change, might not, but for now, yeah, I wish I didn't have a genre, but I know that I do. But I also enjoy the fact that it's not an obvious genre in a way. You know what I mean? It's still a mixed bag of things.
Now, I was doing my research on you, and did I hear that you did in one of the podcasts you were on, you played was it a music score at the premiere of blues film?
Oh,
I've forgotten the name,
at
which I haven't even seen yet.
Sinners.
Sinners, yeah, and I'm desperate to see.
Yeah, an amazing film, by the way. No,
So I've heard.
No, we didn't play I mean, we played excerpts of the score. Incredible score. Which
Who are the artists in the soundtrack?
so there was I can't remember the
But
names
are we
now.
talking established blues artists? We talking Buddy Guys? We talking
Yeah,
this kind of
so
thing?
Buddy Guy is actually in the film. No, no, no,
There's
no, no,
not a
no, no,
spoiler,
no,
is it?
no,
I
no, no.
haven't
It's
seen it
not a
yet.
spoiler. It's
Okay.
not a spoiler, but you have to watch it. He's in the film, but I'm not going to tell you in what capacity. But no, it's incredible because they found this young artist who used to be a backing singer for the artist called Her.
Yeah, I know her. She's a fantastic
And
musician.
he was one of her BB singers, and apparently she was the one who like kind of pushed him to
Yeah.
send in an audition tape. He's one of the main actors, incredible voice, great actor too. And it was his first film,
Wow.
first acting job ever, and so he's on that. And it's the I say Scandinavian. I know he's lived in America for a long time. Film composer. He did famously wrote the music, the score for The Mandalorian.
Ludwig Göransson.
There you go. So that guy, Ludwig Göransson, who I absolutely, it's one of my favorite film composers. In fact, I would go as far as to say of the current generation, that is my favorite composer for film. He is just, like how his imagination works and how creative he is. But also using kind of like modern production techniques to make things, just feel really delicious. That's
Slick.
the word I can use. And he's the composer for this, and he's worked with several different kind of blues musicians in this, and they've just created this soundtrack that was just a joy to listen to. I remember watching the film when we were asked to. It was Nicky Yo, the piano player, jazz piano player, who put the band together for that. And when we were asked to do this, they also asked if we would come along and watch the film before the premiere. We were like, yeah, sure. And we went to the big,
Was it the Odeon?
it was the Odeon, but the one with the special screen, the curved
Oh, the
screen.
IMAX.
The IMAX, but the one on Leicester Square.
Oh, wow.
We went and watched it there, and it was incredible. I was blown away. I didn't know what to expect, actually. I was blown away by the movie and the score, the story, everything. And just I left there just thinking, wow, music has so much more power than I thought. And I've been doing this for so long, But yeah, we didn't play the score. We just played excerpts from the score at the premiere, but also just like played a bunch of blues music, which I've always loved, but very seldom get asked to just come and play the blues.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because you're talking about genres, talking about not wanting
Exactly.
one. And there you are playing Nigerian crossover jazz, and then you got called up to a blues gig.
I know.
And blues gigs are always going to be fun.
Absolutely. And the thing about the blues is that it's one of those things that everybody wants to play. Not everyone can play very well, I dare say. But it's just when you get into one with a bunch of people who are really about it and who really care about it, it can be some of the most fun music you will make.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. I'm blessed to have been able to see B.B. King.
Wow.
I've seen Buddy Guy.
Wow.
I've seen some of the great blues guys, and I went through a phase of blues. I was down at the Ain't Nothing But. I don't know if it's still there. The Ain't Nothing But.
I don't know.
And what was it? That street behind
Denmark Street. Is it around there?
No, Denmark Street was a 12-bar club.
That's the one.
But that's where I used to work. I was a bartender in a 12-bar club.
Oh wow.
But then we used to go to the Ain't Nothing But for the blues. But yeah, I had a real blues phase.
Interesting. Wow.
Real blues phase.
Cool.
So talking about your respect for a film composer, you're also a theater music composer, right?
Yeah. All the things. / Yeah, I got into that in 2018 or 2019? I just got randomly asked would I meet with these two directors. They were working on a version of an old American play, Death of a Salesman, Arthur Miller. And the two directors were two women, Marianne Elliott and Miranda Cromwell, whom I didn't know who they were. I hadn't really done anything in theater up until that point. I think I'd done a workshop once many years before that with some people. And I turned up in the meeting, and I don't know, they seemed very excited to meet me. They'd seen some of the stuff that I'd done in music, and by the time we finished the meeting, I was like really, really like, yes, this is something I would love to do, having had no experience really. And yeah, and they said, yeah, we would love to have you do this, you know. And again, they were looking for a soundtrack that was kind of blues oriented, because the way they were setting the play, they were kind of resetting it. I don't know if you know the original play, but it's written about this white kind of middle class family living in New York in the 50s in America. But they spun it on its head and thought, what would the story be if the family was actually a black middle class family living in New York? And they did like a couple years worth of research where it was like, can we prove every point of the story to be possible? And they found an example in real life for every single
It's like an
element.
amazing book.
Never changed the text. Yeah, never changed the script to suit the changes they made. But bro, when you would, and I remember once we finished rehearsing and put on the show, I then went back and watched the movie that they made with
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin
Yeah, Dustin
Hoffman,
Hoffman.
that
Yeah.
guy. So he had done a version, and I'd watched that film version and then thought about the one we made, and it's like the story comes alive in a completely different
It
way.
sounds
It's
fascinating.
incredible. It did really well.
It's so
It did
creative.
so well. Yeah, well, exact. And that's what I fell in love with working in theater. It was this thing of music, acting, sound, light design, movement design, all coming together and creating this like bigger monster that I was playing the music live in that show. You know, I wrote the score and then I would perform it live every night for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I remember some nights we'd come out to take a bow, and you'd look out in the first few rows, and people were like losing it because it's like completely like broken them, you know. And I thought to myself, I've never seen this at gigs. Like it's a different reaction, a different kind of, you know.
You've added more dimensions, haven't you?
Bro, I was like, okay, this thing, I need to know more about this. Like, how do we get more of this? Do you know what I mean? And I've kind of been working in theater ever since, with various different collaborators, and it's a joy. It's a powerful medium when you get it right. Again, it comes back to the community element. I love community, and theater is something that requires community in order for it to work and be at its best. And the people who I've worked with who have been best at it are all people who they put community first, you know, rather than kind of self and that kind of, you know, what do I do? You know, it's more like, what can we create? It's always the most magic that way, you know?
Now, when you are composing, whether it be for yourself or for others or for theatre,
Mm,
can you tell us about your process in composing? Do you compose with your guitar in your hand, or are you thinking rhythms,
mm,
or are you doing it to maybe in a theatre, maybe a script?
mm. It changes from thing to thing. Um, And over the years, I've also kind of started to dabble more in other instruments. And and it depends. If I want to go on a hunt, I won't do it on the guitar. I'll maybe go to the piano or some other instrument because I'm not as proficient. So I have to like kind of work a bit harder to find things. Um, that can sometimes happen on the guitar too, but it just depends, you know, on what the assignment is, if you like. But I tend to go at it from different places. Sometimes it is just a rhythm, you know. Sometimes it's just a melodic line that then kind of grows into other things. But it changes from. I don't think any two songs were ever done really in the same way for me. So yeah, it just depends.
Now, you said earlier you described your style as a crossover. Let's talk about Femi Temowo, the guitarist, now,
Mm, mm,
as a crossover between Nigerian music and jazz.
mm.
Um, do you is there such thing as a compromise between tradition and innovation, or is it work in real harmony to you?
Such a good question. Yeah. There is a compromise. There is. There has to be. But I think in order for you to I hope I'm making progress with the music that I'm making. But in order for you to find progress in anything, I think there has to be compromise because as much as, you know, like the great musician and composer Winter Marsalis, you know, would say things like tradition breeds excellence, which hands down, yes, it does. But also, in order for us to move forward, there comes a time when we have to leave parts of that tradition behind and try to find other things within it that become a new tradition, hopefully. And that there, for me, that's the kind of compromise. It's it's yeah, and that compromise results in all the different genres that you're trying to fuse together. It's maybe not as jazz for the jazz people and not as Afro for the African music lovers, but it's something else of its own that's created through compromise, but a kind of a negotiated compromise. You know what I mean?
I kind of get the feeling that it's just a result of where we are in the world right now.
Mm,
Because as you said, I forget the name of the composer, that tradition breeds excellence.
mm.
Yes, but tradition also puts up barriers.
Yeah, can do. Yes.
Um, and I very much think we're living in a world which is keeping politics away. I'm talking about myself and the people I know, where everything is much more mixed
Mm,
now.
mm,
Whether it be society or ideas,
mm.
everything is less rigid
Yeah.
and more mixed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, for me, what you're describing about this kind of fluidity in genre and combination, for me, is a sign of the times.
Yeah.
I didn't intentionally quote Prince there, but
Good though.
but
Good.
um, for me, it's where music is going.
Mm.
Because you say it might not be enough jazz for the jazz or blues for the blues, but I kind of feel that's in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm explaining
I know.
myself
No. No.
well.
I completely get you, and I do think that there are elements of that, but I think it's important also
Not lose the
to
roots.
not completely lose sight of it because it's the root. You know. You know, and if you can't, if you have to connect to something.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you have to start from something.
Exactly.
So the tradition can be the starting point.
100%. 100%. I have a new guitar student recently. One of my first private students I've taken on in quite a while, actually. He's young. He's 16, but he's probably going to hear this and his head might swell a bit, but he's incredibly talented, like so good. At 16. I mean, I wasn't even playing guitar at 16. But he's really good. But one of the things that I enjoy the most is that he's so steeped in the tradition, the jazz guitar tradition currently. And I want nothing more for him than to kind of stay there for a while. Because once you can connect yourself to something with that depth, that much depth and strength of root, then wherever you go, you kind of always have something to lean on in a way. And I think that's the beauty of tradition, rather than kind of holding it up as this is all that should exist. It should just be like, if all else fails, I can come back here and I know I'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's, for me, what I know that for myself, so it doesn't bother me to stretch out and try to experiment and see what's here. And oftentimes you just find that, oh, wait a minute, this just ends up sounding like that thing over there. So, oh, that person already did that. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you had to try it. You had to give it a go.
I think tradition in music can really work as actually a kind of a path to freedom,
Mm,
because I feel if you have got that solid base in tradition,
mm.
you can then be free um, to go well out of it. But you've always got that card to play.
Yeah, 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 exactly. That's the point. It's like having somewhere to kind of come home to
Yeah.
if it all kind of goes pear
It's
shaped.
funny because there's another guitarist, very accomplished guitarist,
Mm.
who had a flat across the road from here
Okay,
up until very recently,
who's that?
who I feel, well, let's not talk about genres, but I would put him in a similar category to you because he's a
Mm.
jazz. He plays a Ronnie Scott's player. Plays a lot of African music. He plays with Selma as well.
Okay.
Antonio Forcione.
Oh, Antonio. Yes,
So
yes,
so
yes,
he
yes.
literally had a flat across the road from here,
Yes, I
Veg.
remember
He
he
used to
lived
come here
around
for
here.
a
Yeah.
while.
Ah, interesting. Yes.
And it's funny because I wouldn't categorize you, but I'd put him in the same category as you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I think you would say that because Antonio used to play with
Adriano De Wale.
Adriano, who is
Yeah,
Brazilian,
yeah,
kind of come Yoruba
yeah,
Nigerian
yeah.
percussionist. Yeah, I would. Yeah, but the interesting thing is, I think if you put our two musics together side by side and listen one after the other, it might not appear so.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you
But
mean.
it's because I know you and I know him, and it's
Yes,
the vibe I'm getting, the energy.
I
You know,
understand
he
what you mean.
crosses genres
Yes.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, he's
Absolutely.
not just jazz. You know, he'll delve into Brazilian, into African,
Sure.
into
Yes. Yeah,
Spanish,
yeah, 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 yeah.
real crossing genres.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly what you
and
mean.
and play the same type of venues as you as well. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, gosh,
Um,
Antonio, I haven't seen him in quite a long time.
yeah, I've seen him a few times. He still lives in the area.
Oh, okay, cool. That's great.
When creating music to a narrative in theatre,
Mm,
do you what's the process of syncing the music to the actual narrative?
yeah, that's it's actually something I remember learning that on the go on that first show that I did. Since then, I think I've done. I was trying to count the other day. I think I've done 8 or 9 shows, um, which is quite a lot considering I only got started in it in 2019, I think. But it's it's basically it's not as like high tech as you think, but it's very and it differs from show to show. For instance, so there've been shows that I've played live, or I've written music and then musicians have played it live every night. And there've been some shows where I've just kind of written and recorded the music, and then it kind of gets all put into a program called QLab, which is the program that runs all the things in theater. So it runs the lights, it runs the sound, which is separate from the music. So like the sound design, like any kind of atmospheric stuff or sound effects. It also runs like any kind of set pieces that move, like that are automated. So everything gets put into this program, and then there's a person, a human, who calls the cues and tells the light operator or the sound operator or the stage operator who's moving things when to go. And it's all still done quite like in a way, like
Analog.
analog in a way, but analog but digital. Yeah. And they'll be like, right, cue sound cue number so and so and light cue number so and so, go. And stuff is usually tapered to bits of text or movement on the stage. So someone says something, that's a cue for something to happen, or someone does a movement, that's a cue for something to happen. Sometimes it's when this person makes a walk across the stage and arrives at this point, then it happens. But the problem with that is sometimes actors forget stuff. They might forget lines, they might forget to move the right way or move to the right place. So, it's a whole orchestration.
So I hadn't thought of theatre in the way you said, where you've got each individual. So you got a composer writing the music, you got a writer writing the script,
Mm-hmm.
you got a stage director moving the actors, you got makeup, you've got lights, you got sound.
Mm-hmm.
All of this done by specialists in their field, which you're then telling me gets input to a system, which is then directed by another human.
It's called by another human. Yeah. Two other humans usually.
I never knew that. It's fascinating.
It is. I learned all of that on the fly on my first show, and it was fascinating to me. I was asking questions every day. I mean, luckily, the two directors I worked with, Miranda, who was the younger of the two directors, she helped me through, mostly guided me through the whole process. I would just turn up, I'd write a bunch of music, and then she would kind of curate and go, I think this would work for this scene, and that would work for that scene. And then sometimes I'll present stuff to her and Marianne, the other director. They'll be like, right, we love this. We want to put this in this place. And so I learned about the kind of the narrative writing, the kind of how the music helps to move the narrative along. I learned about that on the job, but understanding how each person's department had to then bring everything together on this program and have one other person who everybody trusts to call it at the right time with the right emotion, being there with the actors almost, you know what I mean? That's the thing. And those people, we refer to them as, they're usually like the kind of assistant stage manager, or DSM, deputy stage manager, they called.
But they're essentially like a conductor in an orchestra.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly that.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
so you've got
exactly.
this person that you just
Yeah.
put in, out,
So you need to
up,
go now.
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes actors have these things called cue lights behind the stage at different points, where when the light goes on, you make your entry. So they need to know when to turn the lights on for actors to go on. Sometimes actors miss their cue lights and go on either too early or too late, all sorts of things. But then this person, if it goes wrong, they have to be able to figure out, okay, where can we get back on track? You know what I mean? If we miss a cue, what cue do I go to next to bring us back together? It's a wild world.
Now, I can't help but feel that this musical trajectory of yours, maybe you've already done it and I don't know about it, but what I just get the feeling film composers coming next. You know what I mean? It's like when everything's
Yeah.
pointing in that direction.
Sure. Yeah. Listen,
It is.
I've felt like this for the longest time. I think even before I did theater. And I think it's one of the things that excited me about doing theater when I had the opportunity, because it's something I dreamed of. Because I'd always written music, even when I write music of my own, there's always some narrative behind it. And I think maybe that's why I took to the theater thing quite quickly. There's always some narrative idea behind it anyway. I realized that more so than being a musician, I think I'm a storyteller who enjoys telling stories. Although I was once just doing it only with the notes and a few words here and there, the opportunity to do it in concert with someone else's storyline, images, visuals is just so fascinating to me. So yes, from your mouth to the universe, let's go there.
I should get you in touch with one of the previous guests we had on, film director called Aisling Walsh. Irish film director and TV. And the reason I bring this up is because when I was talking to her about how she makes her films, and she had a background in painting, and she very much described what you're saying, but using a different format, which was film. But she described herself as a storyteller as well. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. But her format was films,
that's right.
and yours was music, which makes me
Absolutely.
think I should get you guys to link up.
Let's do it.
She's a regular customer here. Fantastic. Really,
Nice.
really nice. Really lovely
I wish I
person.
didn't live so far away. I would also be a regular customer, but hey, other side of town.
Yeah. So I'm curious how you find time to teach.
Well, this is why I was saying it's been a while since I've taught at an institution. It's been a few years. I still kind of moonlight at the Royal Academy of Music. I'm actually teaching an ensemble there right now. Not in this present moment, but currently. And I've just taken on one private guitar student. I get excited about people who are excited about the craft, and that, again, that might seem a little bit like, grandiose to say, but actually, it just, if someone reminds me of how I was when I started out, just that complete immersed passion for the thing, that curiosity to know more, to hear more, that's the thing I think that excites me. And yeah, I would make time for that. That's the thing.
Is there an aspect of you reaching out to your younger self to help yourself out?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. I think I try to approach it in the way that I wish someone, and I did have a few mentors who were amazing for me, who they reached beyond kind of just the ability to play. They spoke to, like, an understanding of how this thing is a representation of you on many levels, if you can find it for yourself. as in the music you make and the stories you tell. It says more than, oh, I'm a musician or I'm a storyteller. But trying to find that or instill that in a younger musician is my primary goal, rather than, oh, play this, try this idea. It's beyond that,
What do you wish young, not just guitarists, but musicians, is there something you wish they would be able to understand early on?
I guess if anything, it's that thing that I remember someone in my church telling me when I was coming up, and I was learning very quickly and developing quite fast. And I remember one day I probably was behaving a little bit like a bit too big for my boots, and it's like put me in my place. And he was like, look, one day everybody will play fast. What are you gonna play then? And I was like, and in the moment, I remember just thinking, oh yeah, you would say that. But then later on, when I got home, I thought about it and I was like, gosh, yeah, like he's really saying to me, like, take your time to get to know more about what you're capable of, rather than having this one trick that people might know you for, and you're like, you lean into that, because what happens when that just doesn't excite people anymore, and it's like, don't be the kind of style over substance type of musician. Deepen your understanding and your relationship with your craft. Figure out who you are within it, so that you can know how to connect people to this realm that we all want to be part of, through art and creativity.
And how do you see the world out there for young musicians? I say guitarists because you're guitarists, you work with guitar students. But do you see the world right now as one full of opportunities for them? Or do you see one with more challenges, more dangers?
Yeah, wow, yeah. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, really, that thought for me. I think whilst it may appear that the opportunities are fewer and further between, um, I actually think if you are looking inward rather than always outward, you will find that the opportunities that have always been always are. And the primary one is, it's that same command. It's like, know yourself. Who are you? And music or any kind of creative art pursuit kind of allows us a highway into that, onto that journey. I think, and if you're on that kind of journey, opportunities are boundless. But if you're on the kind of more like showy, then eventually, like, I mean, there's so much music that AI can already make. Do you know what I mean? That it don't need you no more.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Anima was saying exactly the same thing with regards to singing. And she was saying her advice to young people was, don't sing for others.
Yeah, 100%.
Sing for yourself.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I
And
agree
you're
with
saying
that.
exactly the
It's
same.
the only thing that can never change and be taken away from you, I would like to think that one day AI will be so rampant that people would be gagging for human-made content again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I like your song, but mine was made by an actual human. Get a load of that. Do you know what I mean? And maybe we become the thing that's kind of touted by the billionaires and be like, a human made my album for me, whatever. I don't know. I'd like to think that one day we get to that side, given how it's going. But I think, yeah, at the moment, machines can think and they can kind of not really create, but kind of, right? They still need input from us. There's going to come a time when they don't need input from us.
I completely understand and agree with what you're saying. And
Yeah.
actually, it's one of the things I have behind this podcast, because I'm like, if you look at the way that digital media and content is going and how much AI is being created out there, and then people say to me, hang on, isn't it a bit late in the day to be launching your own podcast? And I'm like, but hang on a second. Hang on. If everything is becoming more artificial,
right,
and I make something real, maybe what I make one day will become more valuable than what is artificial.
exactly.
So I actually completely share your line of thinking.
That's it.
And I'm like, well, this is something real.
Yeah.
And I once described this a few times. People said, how would you describe your podcast? And I described it as a little nugget of truth in an increasingly artificial world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if this can be anything, that's what I'd like it to be.
Yeah. But also, it's something you love to do. And that actually in of itself should be enough, right? It should be. But I guess in the kind of world we live in, if you can't figure out how to, not to say that obviously we would all love to monetize our things, but it's like unless you can do that, then it's of no value, which isn't true. It's not true, because the value to us is that we've had this fellowship, at least its first value, which is worth something. It's worth something.
And that's why I like to carry out this podcast with guests sitting right in front of me, because I wouldn't be able to do this any other way. Because
Right.
this, as you are a performer, an artist, and you were describing earlier on the relationship, the dynamic between the audience and the artist. I get the same here with my guests.
Absolutely.
And if I was just looking at a screen and a photo of you, I don't think this would work.
Yeah, man.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
It's just too artificial for me. So maybe, do you know what? It's almost as if what we're saying, being genuine, being real, is going to become cool.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same way that retro is cool. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're going to be, oh God, look at that. They're the real artists.
Yeah.
Look at them.
I give it another 20 years.
Yeah.
At the rate at which AI is developing, then yeah, to be seen playing a guitar, like, wow, he's playing a guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
It's just something I'm really curious about myself. What guitar do you play?
Several, but my main guitar.
What's your main one?
In the last few years have been my Gibson 335. It's a custom shop job.
Hang on,
that
335?
Yeah, 335.
BB King?
No, similar, but not quite. The BB King one is not quite. I think it's it's not a hollow body.
It's a semi-hollow.
Kind of, yeah, but it's also got that switch thing on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Which mine doesn't have. I can't remember exactly what that model is called. But I play a 335, which is kind of like a very common guitar that people who play jazz, but also other things tend to lean into. But the last kind of few years, that's been I've come back to the 335. Not started out, but my first album, I was playing a 335. Second album was, I played a small amount of acoustic nylon guitar.
I was going to say nylon.
But a lot of jazz, like big, like kind of 175 style.
Yeah.
And then third album was all nylon, because I was like, I'm going to just go that way and see how it feels. And I did that for a few years. And now I came back to the 335, and I feel like that's home. The new album that I'm making, though, a lot of it I recorded on a Strat, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, which is funny, because I mean, it was just crazy, because when I was writing a lot of it in the studio, it was just my Strats usually just sat there on the stand, and I would pick it up just to like quickly throw ideas down, and then it'd be like, oh, that has to stay, because I can't recreate that. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of it is, and some of it is on the 335, obviously, but yeah, it's a mix of things, but mostly my 335.
And this is an album which is currently
in the works.
Not
out just yet. Hopefully next year now.
So do we have a release date?
No release date. I wish. Been working on it for a couple of years, but between like all the other duties, it takes what it takes.
All right, let me talk about music collections. What's your most prized? I'm going to say vinyl. I'm going to guess you've got vinyl. You must have some vinyl.
I have some vinyl now. I started a vinyl collection recently, so go easy.
So which one is your most prized album?
My favorite vinyl is my Fela Kuti London Scene. It was the album that they made at Abbey Road. Abbey Road? Yes. That they recorded Abbey Road? Or was it the other place? London Scene was recorded at Abbey Road, I believe. Yeah. Yes.
Now, I'm a huge Fela fan. We can talk about Fela for a bit. We can always talk about Fela.
Nice.
But yeah, man, Fela, Afrobeat, I can't get enough.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of his albums. I'm actually really into Tony Allen as well.
The master.
And I like the collaborations he's done with a lot of the young artists.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's like he took Afrobeat and played it with a bunch of like really talented jazz kids and created just, I love that crossover stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
yeah, yeah.
absolutely love it.
Exactly. But that's, I think it's inevitable though, isn't it? It's inevitable that he would have done that. You know, I think for a lot of people when Tony left Fela's band, it was kind of like a dark day. But the results, you know, what the world got out of that is magical. I'm not sure that we would have got some of those great Tony records.
And not just that, but then a lot of, because I don't know if people listening to this, I don't know if they're going to understand when I say Afrobeat, I don't mean Afrobeats.
Oh, I think the real ones, know. It's okay.
However,
Yeah.
there's nothing bad about Afrobeats.
No,
and it wouldn't have come
absolutely.
about if it weren't for Afrobeat.
There you go.
So, you know, it's the fella and the Tonys who laid the foundation for it's actually quite incredible how popular African rhythms are in pop music today.
Tell me about it.
Do you know?
Telling me about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It kind of reminds me of the 2000s when pop music was dominated by Central American rhythms. You had a lot of Latin American artists doing collaboration with pop artists, and they all wanted to do their reggaeton. And reggaeton is still popular, but Afrobeats is now it's up there punching with the heavyweights like the Latin music is.
I think it's bigger. I think it's because like I go everywhere, and imagine as a young kid who moved to this country, right, in the 80s, and for whom it was like kind of not cool to be African, you know, in London in the mid 80s and 90s. But then now I put on Radio 1, BBC Radio 1, and I'm hearing someone singing in my language and everybody loves it. In fact, I'm hearing people on the bus singing a chorus in Yoruba. This person's they got nothing to do with Yoruba. They sing in a chorus like a Burna Boy chorus or a Wizkid chorus. And I'm like, wait, what?
Right, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to tell any of our listeners? Your next steps, any future projects, anything you want to? If you want to drop anything in here.
I mean, I'm working on a new record.
Yep.
I've been working on it for a while. If you want it to come out faster, send me some money.
Well, in that case, do you know what you can do? Give us the socials.
Okay.
Tell us your
Femitone. The name is like a semitone, but a femitone.
Yeah.
On all the socials.
Yep.
Insta, TikTok. I'm building my TikTok at the moment, by the way.
So are we.
Getting in there with the kids. Facebook. I don't use X anymore because why? Yeah. So on all the socials, it's Femitone. On YouTube, it's Femitone. So you can find me there. And yeah, I'm working on a new record at the moment. It's for me, the record I'm working on is like, I kind of describe it like a kind of like, you know, Afrobeat in the future. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
that's kind of how I see it. I'm taking elements, you know, and just kind of doing what I want to do with it. I love it. My band, who've played some of it with me, they love it, and I'm very excited about it. I'm really, really.
Oh wow, man! I really want to hear that.
I can't wait to get it done. Got a few more tracks to record and finish, but yeah, that's the main thing on the wire for me. I've been spending a lot more time working as both a composer and a producer now, so I'm doing a lot of that collaboration with
and
various artists.
In terms of production, like how do you choose who you want to work with or who you will work with?
Someone who well, for me, there are lots of people I would love to work with.
Yeah.
Obviously, it needs to be reciprocal. Do you know what I mean? But that's kind of a different conversation. But in terms of people that I do work with, who I'm enjoying working with, it's usually because they have a way of looking at the world that's unique to them or that's interesting. They are happy to go on an exploration with the music.
So it could
rather
be
than-
any style of music.
Literally, for me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just someone who's willing to go on a journey rather than just kind of, oh, I want it to sound like so-and-so.
Yeah.
I'm like, there are tons of producers out there and writers and composers who can do that with you. For me, I feel best in music when we're on a journey.
Yeah.
Even if we arrive at something that's completely generic.
Yeah.
As long as we got there in a way that was completely our own,
And genuine.
that's what I want to do.
And
But you never arrive at generic that way anyway, you know.
You said there are people you'd like to work with. I mean, who knows if they listen to this podcast? Name drop them, man. Tell us who you want to work with. Sorry?
Leanne Lahavas.
Okay.
If you're listening, Leanne, we know each other. She knows me. I would love to work with Leanne. I think she's an incredible artist and a lovely person. There are many, obviously, but I love what Leanne does. That mixed bag of,
I actually have one of her vinyls.
Yeah, it's the last one she put out.
I can't remember which one.
I would love to work with Leanne. I believe it will happen sometime soon. I don't know when, but
let's make it happen.
But yeah. So Leanne, if you're listening, you know where my studio is. Holla.
Leanne, let's get to it. Awesome, Femi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Beautiful.
man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really, really nice,
Really
man.
nice. I love these cups. You need to make more.
If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.